Hi everyone, it's Loretta and thank you for joining me today. I have a share for you in the form of a progress video. This is the Ornament Keepsakes, a retired stamp set and die set from Stampin' Up. This one is three-dimensional. I showed a video yesterday of just one of these ornaments completed, and I did get several requests to film a progress video so that you can see how I did them. They are pretty much the same instructions as you use for making the ornament. I am just building it on both sides. You will need to cut 40 of the large ornaments and 40 of the small. You're going to take 20 altogether, 10 of the large and 10 of the small, and put them aside so that when you're building the pieces you have something to place them upon. You're going to score those ornaments in half. If they don't line up quite perfectly, you can usually move them into the correct position by using your fingers. You can also push them into place using a bone folder. I do suggest that you do this when you have plenty of time and patience and not a lot of distractions, because it can be frustrating to try to fold this many pieces. Each ornament requires 3 top pieces and 1 bottom. You're going to score the top 3 and glue them together so that the ornament is then three-dimensional. You're going to repeat the process for the smaller green ones. The green ones, in this case the smaller ornaments, are actually easier to score. They just seem to be a little bit straighter as far as that midline is concerned. But if you can kind of do all the stamping, then all the die cutting, then all the scoring, things seem to move a little bit quicker. You're also going to need some tulle. I used some white tulle in this case. Later in the video you're going to see that I use a shimmer mist that was handmade to spray the entire ornament, including the tulle, to give it a little bit more sparkle. This one has not been further embellished with glitter or with a wink of Stella pen. I will probably do that before I send this on to its new home. And we will talk about what I'm going to do with this one in a little while. It's actually, I'll just tell you now, it's for my chemo buddy. So I'm hoping that she will be surprised by this. It's definitely a labor of love. I enjoy projects like this. They are really great for your manual dexterity, and they kind of help take your mind off of other things, because you have to work on this project and not think about a whole lot of other things. It used to be the same way when I cross-stitched many years ago, but I fell in love with stamping and with scrapbooking, and that is now my vice, as many of you already know. Moving right along, you're going to be seeing me glue these ornaments down. I used a 1 3/8 inch circle punch. I spread some Tombow Mono Multi Glue around the perimeter of that circle, and then I'm going to start placing the larger ornaments onto that. You need to get a little glue happy with this. You have some wiggle room as far as time is concerned, since the glue will stay wet for you for a few minutes. As you place these down, the edges of each ornament should fairly butt up against its neighbor. It should be matched up, but not a real tight fit, because when you go to add the tulle and the other layers in a few minutes, you'll want to be able to get in between those ornaments to add those elements. I cut the tulle to about approximately 6-7 inches long. It is in kind of twisted in half at the bottom and then placed onto the ornament using hot glue. I go back with the hot glue several times just to make sure that it is as down onto the project as I can get it. You could use liquid glue for this process. However, I don't think that the liquid glue would grab a hold of the tulle the way it needs to be, and in the long run it just wouldn't hold. So I did use hot glue for that purpose. As you move along with this, you need to use something that isn't your fingers, especially if you're sensitive to heat, to press that down into the hot glue. Please be careful. Use reasonable caution when you're working with hot stuff. That just goes without saying, but you'd be surprised at how many idiotic messages I sometimes get over the subject, so use reasonable caution. When you go to start adding in these smaller green 3D ornaments or 3D pieces, you're going to be adding them directly on top of that tool, so you're going to want a bigger glob, if you will, of hot glue to hold those in place. And I did put that directly on the ornament, and you're going to see me push it down into that tool. Unlike the original ornament, where they tell you to take this layer and have it slightly poking outwards, you don't want this to poke outwards. You want it to try to lay fairly flat, so that when you get ready to put that medallion on, the front and the back for that matter, you'll be able to do that and it'll lay flat. Otherwise, it's hard to get it to really adhere correctly, so you want to pay attention and get that done. When you're doing this, you do have to have some patience. Once all of these green ornament pieces are in place, we're going to be flipping this ornament upside down and working on the other side. When you're flipping it, use your entire hand to flip it and be careful so that none of the pieces come apart. And as you can see here, I'm simply laying the second set of larger ornaments on top of the first, making sure to line those up carefully. This is where I put my hanger on. In this case, it is a piece of green baker's twine. I tied a knot in it just so that I knew it wasn't going to slip apart, but once it's underneath all that glue and other layers, that puppy's not going anywhere. Once I got it in place, I did use 2 little drops of hot glue on either side of that twine so that it would stay separated and be easier for the recipient to hang it onto his or her tree. Now I'm going to continue to build this. You do want to use plenty of liquid adhesive on this part. You don't want it to ever come apart. So you don't have to be totally glue happy. You don't want to make a mess, and if you do happen to have some of the glue ooze out from underneath, just use your baby wipe and clean that right up. And here you saw that I dropped it. No biggie, just add a little bit more glue and continue on. Be patient. Once again, I want to remind you of that, since it does just take some time to do this. All together, between the stamping, die cutting, and layering of this ornament, it took me 7 hours from start to finish to complete. And once again, I want to remind you, this ornament has not been glittered yet, which I do plan to do. It's just going to add a little bit more sparkle to my project. I really love the classic look of this. Anything that you make with your hands and give to someone in love is worth your time to do it. You will receive as much of a blessing as the recipient, and sometimes you'll receive a bigger one than the recipient. And by that I mean anything worth doing is worth doing well. When I create things, quite frankly, I think of it from the standpoint of, would I submit this to a magazine for possible publication? And if the end product says, no, I don't think so, then there is something wrong that I need to fix. I do take great pride in my work, and I appreciate it when I get handmade things as well. As I continue on, I'm putting the tool on what is now the back side of this ornament. Just like the first layer, I'm using plenty of hot glue, twisting the end of that tool together so that it is a little bit poofier, I guess. And now my hands are used to this heat, so I'm not real worried about sticking my finger right in there. I have calluses and all that good stuff and old age. But you do want to make sure that that's stuck down pretty well. As you go on to layer on those green, smaller ornaments, it's going to take a little bit more effort to get them in place because you're running out of room. There's so much bulk in the ornament by the time you reach this point that you want to be sure, once again, to use plenty of that glue. So just keep that in mind and you'll be okay. You do want to hold each one of these pieces in place for a few moments while you feel that glue start to set up and dry slightly. That way you know it's not going to come apart. When you're getting ready to do the final assembly, well actually let's backtrack for a second. Once all these are in place, you're going to cut a medallion. I cut mine from a Tim Holtz die that is from Sizzix, and I actually cut two. The strips were 12 by 2 inches to cut out these medallions, and I used two of them on both sides, so that was 24 inches altogether. And they are already pre-cut and pre-scored. After I had used my homemade Glimmer Mist, I accordion folded those and placed them onto my project. Actually I made the medallion. Now I had a couple of ornaments extra, so I used a circle punch and used those as the center of that medallion. Some people call these lollies. I guess it's just however you want to look at them, but you do want them to stay into place, and one of the best ways to do that is to glue them with that small circle. It also really does finish it off. Today, to finish this one off completely, I am using large snowflake confetti as well as some smaller pieces of bling that are shaped like snowflakes to finish that off, and I'm going to attach that to my ornament. Once that is in place, I'm going to stick my hot glue gun up underneath all of those layers and start squirting hot glue in so that I know that this piece isn't going to be coming apart. I'm going to be very careful as to not allow this piece to have any spider webs, so to speak, showing through that part. You can always go back with a pair of scissors and clean those up. Here it is, all finished. Still pictures will follow this project. Please email me if you have any questions. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe to my videos. Share them with your friends, especially on social media. If you would like to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram username is Roger Loretta. Of course, my blog is lorettaroger.com. And as usual, all of this information will be down below in the form of a caption, and it will also be in the description box. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you have a great day and a great rest of your week. Thank you so much. Have a great day. I will see you all soon. Bye for now.